An Argentinian judge released 11 of the 16 people who were still detained after security forces arrested demonstrators in protests against the law of bases. The government of Venezuela has strongly rejected the process of expropriation of the company Citgo Petroleum Corporation, which continued to be carried out by the United States authorities. And the North Korean government received the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, for a state visit to strengthen bilateral cooperation alliances. Hello, welcome to From the South. I am Irma Shelton from teleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Stay with us. In Argentina, the judge released 11 of the 16 people who remain in detention after security forces arbitrarily detained most of the 33 demonstrators who had come to Congress to protest against the law of bases last Wednesday. Judge Maria Servini's ruling came just after the relatives of the detainees, together with social, political, and trade union organizations, demonstrated on Tuesday in Plaza de Mayo to demand the release of those who remain in custody. 28 people have already been released by Servini, despite federal prosecutor Carlos Tornelli's intention to keep them under arrest under alleged fabricated charges. 3 people still remain detained. Deputies of the Union for the Homeland in Argentina held the Minister of Security, Patricia Bullrich, responsible for the use by police of irritant gases against peaceful demonstrators over the law of bases. The criminal complaint was filed Tuesday by the deputies who refuted Bullrich's main argument that the demonstrators were blocking the streets. According to the document, it was the security forces who had blockaded the streets under the minister's orders. On the other hand, the deputies announced that the events have already been reported to local, regional, and international human rights agencies and organizations, both from the OAS and the United Nations.
Lo digo en términos estrictamente literales, sobre los diputados nacionales para agredir.
The government of Argentina validated on Tuesday before the United Nations its historical claim for the sovereignty of the Malvinas, South Georgia's South Sandwich, and the surrounding maritime areas. It was Minister of Foreign Affairs Diana Mondino, the one who participated in a session of UN Special Committee on decolonization, where she left no room for doubt about the official position of the Argentine state regarding this enclave administered by the United Kingdom. Mondino declared that it has now been 191 years since the beginning of the illegal occupation of the islands by the United Kingdom. She also argued that the past time has not weighed diminish the validity of their claim nor modify their conviction that this prolonged dispute should be resolved peacefully through bilateral negotiations between Argentina and the United Kingdom. The government of Venezuela has strongly rejected the process of expropriation of the company Citgo Petroleum Corporation, which continues to be carried out by the United States authorities under the pretext of a judicial process of forced sale of shares clearly contrary to the law. Through her X account, Venezuelan Vice President Delcy Rodriguez expressed her rejection of the theft of Citgo instrumentalized by the United States government. She added that Venezuela will not recognize any type of fraudulent transaction and that the people in a great national union will defend their patrimony and apply implacable justice to those who plot this plunder against the Republic. The government of Nicaragua joined the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela in denouncing, in a press statement issued on Tuesday, the U.S. government seizure of Citgo Petroleum Corporation. The statement, titled "Always Not to Yankee Filibusters," strongly expressed Managua's position when it said, "We condemn once again this absurd outrage that reflect an invariable filibusterism behavior on the part of the United States that has done and continues to do so much damage to the world and to the human community." In this context, the former president of Colombia, Ernesto Samper, denounced on the social network X the attempts of international expropriation by the United States against the Venezuelan capital oil company Citgo. Samper emphasized that forcing elections to be held amid sanctions is subtle by effective way to intervene in the right of voters to vote freely. Also, the Chinese government rejected Tuesday the takeover of the Venezuelan subsidiary Citgo by the United States government and the extreme right. The spokesman of the People's Republic of China, Li Xian, ratified that his country is opposed to the illegal sanctions imposed by the United States government against the Venezuelan people and demanded that Washington should not interfere in Venezuela's affairs. Li Xian said that such actions go against international inauguration by the institutions of the imperialist government of the United States against Venezuela. The Venezuelan government, through its foreign ministry, emphatically rejected on Tuesday the opinion of the U.S. Assistant Secretary for Western Hemisphere Affairs, Brian Nichols, on the electoral process in the country. Venezuela's Foreign Minister Ivan Gil stated that Nichols continually seeks to offend the Venezuelan people by meddling in internal affairs that do not concern him. Gil also denounced Nichols' obsession to destabilize the electoral process in Venezuela and to support opposition sectors. The Venezuelan government reiterates its rejection of U.S. imperialist interference in its commitment to defense of sovereignty and democracy in the country. On Tuesday, the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, demanded Mexico to account for the political violence that took place in the recently concluded elections. The Mexican organization's Data Civica elaborated based on journalist notes collected between May 1st and June 2nd, 2024, a monitor that counted 137 events associated with the political criminal violence. Of these events, 27 target women and 96 target men. The report states that between September 2023 and June 2nd, 2024, 34 people running for public office were assassinated, while 98 others were assaulted, although they survived. According to this data, this process was more violent than the two previous ones, with the exception of 2018 elections, as the closest precedent with closer tolls of murder and attacked people. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum called on the elected deputies and senators to return to the territory to continue working the priority reforms and particularly to the judiciary power. This has as the main objective to work with the current legislature, the forums that will be held from June 26 until August, in order to approve in its September the coordinator of Morena Senators Ricardo Monreal and the president of the board on directors in that chamber, Ana Lilia Rivera, will explain that 8 forums will be held, 3 of them in Mexico City. It is expected that the Senate will approve on exhortation to the Chamber of Deputies to carry them out. And now let's take a short break, but remember, you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. On Tuesday, the Palestinian Prisoners Society denounced the detention of more than 600 Palestinian children by the Israeli occupation forces in the occupied West Bank since October 7. In a statement, the organization informed that the minors adopted in Israeli occupation prisons are subjected to all kinds of punishment, being subjected to abuse, torture, and medical crimes. The society also added that during the first days of the Muslim holiday, Eid al-Adha, the Zionist army detained a group of children east of Ramallah. The authority condemned the genocidal actions and Netanyahu's government against the Palestinian people and called on the international community to address the situation in the Gaza Strip. The Palestinian government denounced the alleged Israeli tactical pause in the war, and Rafah as another lie by the Tel Aviv to impose a false narrative and prevent a temporary truce and the delivery of humanitarian aid. In this sense, the Palestinian authorities stated that the alleged daily pause in military activities between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. local time is false, and added that the occupation forces have not ceased their operations, among them the ongoing destruction of the Rafah crossing, one of the main entry points of humanitarian aid to Gaza Strip. Once again, thousands of Israelis took the streets on the occupied Jerusalem to demand the immediate resignation of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Security forces brutally repressed protesters, arresting at least 9 of them. Demonstrators surrounded the Knesset venue and changed their slogan to demand Netanyahu's deposition for a call to overthrowing the tyrant. The protesters ratified that a request for early elections cannot be postponed and deemed it as crucial the need to reach an agreement with the Palestinian resistance movement Hamas. The protest broke through the police barriers and headed towards the residence of the Prime Minister, but the security forces of the Zionist regime violently blocked the advance. On Tuesday, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian urged NATO to stop framing China for the Ukraine-Russian conflict.
China did not cause and is not part of the Ukraine crisis, and it has always been committed to promoting peace talks. China's goal and fair stance and constructive role have been widely recognized by the international community. We advise the relevant party to stop shifting blame and sowing discord. not add fuel to the fire and instigate confrontation, but rather do something practical for the political settlement of the crisis.
In the United States, the President Joe Biden announced 2 new executive actions that will allow thousands of immigrants who have been living in the country for at least a decade to obtain legal permanent residency so they can formally contribute to the U.S. economy. The first of these initiatives will allow people married to U.S. citizens to avail themselves of the remedy known as parole in place, which protects immigrants for deportation and allows them to obtain work permits if they have lived in the United States for at least 10 years. Through this route, undocumented immigrants could apply for residency and eventually citizenship. The White House explained in a press release that this action will protect approximately 500,000 spouses of U.S. citizens. The government of Brazil approved a timetable to reduce pollution and meet the air quality standards set by the World Health Organization. The resolution approved by the National Environmental Council, CONAMA, includes an investment of up to $30 million between 2025 and 2026 to create inventories, build a monitoring station, and implement actions to improve air quality. In this sense, the initiative foresees that air quality will be monitored by authorities and adapted to protect the health of the population and the environment in Brazil. The Venezuelan Bolivarian National Guard maintains an active deployment in national parks and monuments as part of the protection plans against criminal groups that practice illegal mining. Chief General Dominico Hernandez Lares detailed that the Army forces are also deployed in the Forest Hydraulic and Biosphere Reserve to maintain environmental security. He also reminded the population that it is prohibited with the national parks to develop mining, hydrocarbon exploitation, agricultural crops in general, and forex exploitation. In this context, he affirmed that it is a citizen duty to abide by the national laws, or else the organizations that violate the law on the national sovereignty will be dismantled. And we have a final short break coming up, but before, we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. It's final short break. Don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. The North Korean government received the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, for a state visit to strengthen bilateral cooperation alliances. The Russian president is expected to carry out an important high-level agenda together with his delegation during his stay in the nation, where they will address issues of cooperation and strengthening of their commercial alliances. The Kremlin indicated that it values the willingness of its allies to strengthen strategic ties for the development of the peoples. It is expected that the topics to be discussed will focus on the economy, energy, transport, agriculture, and security. President Vladimir Putin visited Pyongyang in 2000, and this would be his first state visit to North Korea under Kim Jong-un, with whom a leader meetings is suspected. And on Wednesday, North Korean President Kim Jong-un called the visit of Russian President Vladimir Putin to his country and the development of bilateral relations as a great historic moment. The North Korean leader said Putin's visit to Pyongyang confirms the true state of the Russian-North Korean relations, which have entered a period of higher development, and at the same time is a great historical moment of the highest strategic importance. The North Korean leader said, adding that the relations between Russia and North Korea are entering a period of a new great blooming that cannot be compared even with the period of the Korean-Soviet relations in the last century. The United States government and NATO criticized on Tuesday the visit of the Russian President Vladimir Putin to North Korea. United States Secretary of State Anthony Blinken assured that the economy and military relationship between North Korea, China, and Russia are causing concern in the Western military bloc.
North Korea is providing significant munitions to Russia and other weapons for use in Ukraine. Iran has been providing weaponry, including drones that have been used against civilians and civilian infrastructure. And as I mentioned a moment ago, the deep concerns we have about China, not in terms of providing weapons, but in providing what Russia needs to keep its defense industrial base going and to produce itself more tanks, more munitions, more missiles. Yes.
For his part, the Secretary General of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, James Stoltenberg, said that Putin's visit to North Korea confirms the need to address the security issue among NATO allies.
His visits to North Korea demonstrates and confirms the very close alignment between Russia and the authoritarian states like North Korea, but also China and Iran. And this also demonstrates that our security is not regional, it's global. What happens in Europe matters for Asia, and what happens in Asia matters for us. And this is clearly demonstrated in Ukraine, where Iran, North Korea, China are propping up, fueling Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine. So this idea that we can divide security into regional theaters doesn't work anymore. Everything is intertwined, and therefore we need to address these challenges together.
In other topic, Malaysian Prime Minister Dato Seri Anwar bin Ibrahim confirmed that the official process of his country's ascension to BRICS group, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, will begin shortly. The Malaysian government is basing its decision on the fact that the Strait of Malacca is an important transport route connecting the south of the Eastern Pacific Ocean with the Bay of Bengal, where India, Bangladesh, and Thailand, among others, have their shores. The BRICS bloc originated with the formation of the countries that define its acronym: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. However, as of January 1st, 2024, Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia, Argentina, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates are part of the bloc. Like Malaysia, Thailand has also expressed its intention to join the organization. And we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I am Irma Shelton. Thank you for watching.